right, y'all, welcome back and happy Tuesday. It's time to start breaking down Kentucky. And today we're going to be breaking down their offense and defense because I didn't do anything yesterday outside of just like my opening thoughts. And I said that this is a game that Tennessee should win. It could be kind of like a get right game for us. But just to kind of like piggyback off of that, because obviously I've watched a lot more film, I've done more research. And I would say that, I mean, we should still win the game. Kentucky's not the best team from top to bottom, but they do some things very well. Some of their strengths are Tennessee's weaknesses. They got some playmakers that can definitely do some good things. And I don't know if Tennessee's going to have Arion Carter playing in this game. He's been playing with 2 turf toes, y'all, which is insane. I have no idea. So look, first off, shouts out to him. And we talked about this to our members on Patreon and on YouTube last night. But I mean, look, there's no reason that he should be playing with 2 turf toes. That's extremely painful. So, I mean, his pain tolerance is like through the roof. I mean, he's giving his all for Tennessee. And I feel bad that I was going so hard at him in the previous like film breakdowns and stuff. And over the past couple of weeks, I've been really hard on him. I knew that he had 1 turf toe. This was maybe like a couple of weeks ago. I thought maybe it was maybe better because he was still playing, but I had no idea that he played last weekend, at least last weekend. Could have been more weeks with 2 of them. That's a major problem. Like he's playing at probably like 45%. That's how it actually looks. So maybe, if he doesn't play, and if it's me personally, I would have him sitting out for maybe like the next month because that's not helping the team out. It's not helping him out. I mean, he's putting out really bad film. So, like the training staff, what the hell are they doing? How do you let a guy play with 2 turf toes? And we saw it last season. It was a different training staff, I think. But with Squirrel White, he had like an AC joint or something. If you don't have an arm, or especially if you're like a wide receiver and you need to be able to lift your arm up over your head to catch the football, if you're playing at any position and you don't have 2 feet, you basically have 2 broken toes. You're not going to help the team playing, bro. And I listen again. Shouts out to him. I'm not taking a shot at him by any means. I salute him for it because dog, very very hard to do. Like P, he had turf toe when he was in college. It still hurts. That was a long time ago when he got done playing in college. So that just goes to show how difficult of an injury that is. The Falcons play San Francisco on Sunday night. Their quarterback's sitting out because he has turf toe. I think that Deion Sanders might have had his toe amputated because he had turf toe. He tried to play through it. And it might have been for something else, so don't quote me on that. But it's a serious injury. But I think that he needs to sit out. I know we got Oklahoma coming up next weekend. I don't think that he needs to be playing in that game. He at least needs to sit this weekend out. And let's let the younger guys get some more reps. They will probably make mistakes. Everyone does. But this is the time for them to learn. That's the only way that they will learn is by getting out there playing and kind of like having some teaching points. So by the time that we get to Oklahoma, we'll have more depth. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll be better for it. And then obviously further down the year or further down the season, right? But either way, I think that with some of the things that they do, because they put a lot of stress on our linebackers, or they will put a lot of stress on our linebackers, I think that it could be a pretty interesting matchup from that standpoint. But with all that being said, y'all please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And for all the members, we will have the all-22 film breakdown of Tennessee's passing offense versus Alabama's defense coming out for y'all today. So that's something for y'all to look forward to. All right, and also shouts out to y'all. Let's go ahead and get started. So this is just like the talent breakdown with Tennessee's defense versus Kentucky's offense. And that's, obviously that's the matchup that we're going to be starting on. So Tennessee has 27 blue chip caliber players. That's 5 and 4 stars. We pull these numbers from 24/7 Sports. And Kentucky has 13. Now, don't let the talent gap fool you because Tennessee is the more talented team, but Texas is more talented than Tennessee is. They went down to Lexington last weekend, and they barely won. Like, they had to go to overtime to win their game, I think, 16-13 or something like that. Whatever the score was. They barely got out of there with the dub. So the whole point is styles make fights. I say it every single week. I think Tennessee matches up better versus the Wildcats than Texas did, but just don't let the talent gap fool you. All right, so moving on. This is their 2 deep on offense, and I'm going to take myself out of this so that y'all can see everything. The players in red, that's their offensive line. You can see that there's good sizes there. I think that they are well coached. I think that their whole team is well coached. They're going to do some good things. Not a lot of push as far as like the run blocking. There's some places where I think Tennessee can win at as far as their pass protection, but we felt that way last weekend, and we didn't really do it. So can we get over the hump? Can we figure things back out with our pass rushers? That's going to be necessary, I think, in this game. Everything in white is their tight ends. They love to use their tight ends. We'll talk about that some more in just a second. The yellow is their quarterbacks. And Cutter Boley, he's going to be their starter, 6'5", 220, and he is a redshirt freshman. So he has a strong arm. He's got the big arm. Not very accurate down the field. I think that's probably the biggest problem with this whole team. Everything in blue is their skill players. Number 3 is a dog. Number 2 is a bigger guy. He's pretty solid. They've got some wide receivers that are also dogs that do some good things, that run some good routes. Okay, so moving on. This is their stats, and you can see the strength of schedule on top of each team. So for them, their strength of schedule based off of ESPN right now is ranked number 7. Tennessee's is ranked number 15. They're winning in some of these categories, like scoring. Okay, they're winning in passing, and they're also winning in red zone. Not very great at anything, but I mean, listen, Tennessee's defense is better than what we've put out there on film. It's better than what it says on paper, and also we've had a linebacker out there that's playing at maybe like 50 to 60%, and I mean that's probably being generous. It could possibly take a step forward if he can rest. You know, like if we just let him rest and let some other guys that are healthier get out there and play. Problem is, some of those guys might not always know what to do. There's going to be a lot of stress on them, but this is a perfect game for them to go out there and take their lumps. I'm not quite sure what the final score is going to be. We talk about that on Saturdays, but it could be a little bit closer than maybe the experts think, but we're going to be better for it. It's just about winning. You have to understand it's a long season. Don't get so caught up in the style points and all that, not just yet. Because the biggest thing we need to do is win every game from this point forward. And we're going to need to have better linebacker play than we've had up to this point for that to happen. All right, so moving on. Let's take a look, and I'm going to take myself out of this as well, but this is just an overview of their offense. So in the top left, y'all can see the offensive personnel. The first personnel, that means one tight end, okay? That means that you're spreading the field out. You have 3 wide receivers, so there's more speed out there. It's not as much of a run-heavy set. It's more of a pass set, but they're doing that at about 56% of the time. And then they're, bringing in their tight ends. So 12 personnel means 2 tight ends. 13 personnel means 3 tight ends. They're doing that at about 42% of the time, where it's heavier sets. They will run the football and they will throw it to their tight ends. So again, a lot of stress on the linebackers and on our safeties, and in some situations, stars. But linebackers have to have a very, very good game. Now, as far as how they run the football, they like to do inside zone and man blocking at 26%. So with obviously inside zone, that's just zone blocking, which means that you're not blocking a man, you're blocking an area. But that goes right up the middle. They'll bounce those to the outside. Big game for our defensive ends and our linebackers. Everybody that's supposed to be setting an edge, they've got to do that because they definitely got some dogs that can get to the outside and make us pay. Man blocking for them has been a lot more like outside runs, so like off tackle runs, things like that. So again, linebackers and defensive line. And then 14% is going to be pull leads and counters. We talked a lot about the pull lead last weekend versus Alabama. They had some success running it. Have we figured it out? Hopefully so. I think part of it could have been because Arion Carter had basically 2 broken feet out there. All right, counter, we all know what counter is. And then outside zone, that's at 10%. And then power, that's at 5%. So with their route tendencies, vertical passes, that's anything that's just going vertical. So it could be like a fade, it could be a go, it could be a post, it could be a corner route or smash route, pretty much same thing, right? They're doing that at about 31.3%. Crossing patterns, that's anything that starts maybe on the right side and goes to the left side, or on the left side and goes to the right side. It could be drags, it could be deep crossers. They're doing that a lot as well at about 23%. Hitches, they're doing that at about 14%. Outs and wide screens, they're both at 11.1%. They love to run screens. Versus Georgia, they ran a ton of screens. I expect that they'll try to run a lot more screens than what we've seen in some of these other games versus Tennessee, because we haven't shown that we're the best at stopping it. Okay. And also, it helps their quarterback out. They also ran a lot of it versus Texas. Now, their weaknesses on offense, their quarterback isn't very accurate, I think, especially down the field. So on the vertical passes, he has a strong arm, but he's just not very accurate there. And, we'll see. I mean, at any point that could change. They've had wide receivers getting open versus everybody, but he just hasn't really been hitting them. So inside runs is something, like, they're not great at the inside runs. Their offensive line doesn't get a huge push. They're not really moving bodies. And then their starting running back, he's not the biggest guy. He's not the strongest guy. Their other running back, he's a little bit bigger and stronger, so he can maybe run through some tackles. But they're better with, like, inside runs if they bounce it to the outside. Their offensive line, I think, is pretty spotty, as we touched on. Not the best as far as movement within, like, the run blocking. And there's some issues with their pass protection. I think that they're just, like, they are well coached, but they're just not, like, the best athletes. I think that we should be able to eat. We'll see. Last thing, I think that their route combinations, it's not great. Like, there's some things that I think that they could do better, and they might have worked on it, or they might work on it over the course of this week and maybe get better at it on Saturday. Who knows? But I will say that it's better to me than what Alabama did. It's definitely better than what Georgia did. but it's for the most part, it's pretty simple. You know, they have people open. Like I said, they're just not really hitting them. Okay, so let's move on and let's talk about their dudes. Okay, this is on offense and defense. We typically do like 5 key players for the offense, 5 for the defense. I think that there's a total of 8 here. 6 is going to be on offense, 2 is on defense. I just wanted to try to, this is kind of like the midway point of this video. I just want to kind of go through it and give y'all a pretty brief overview of this team. So running back number 3, like I said, he is a dude. He's 6'1", 215. He's going to be their starter. He's not going to be the best necessarily between the tackles, but he's explosive. If he gets to the outside, if he gets to the second level, he can make you miss, and he has really, really good speed. He's probably a 4.3 guy. You know, he's probably going to be like the twitchiest running back that Tennessee's seen so far this year. But as far as like running through contact, he's not super great at that. So that's kind of like a perfect situation for some young linebackers that aren't listed very big. I don't know how much they weigh at this point, but I think that it's perfect for them because they can, you know, maybe kind of like match his speed. It's going to challenge them some to be able to get to the run fit quicker. But also, you know, they can go in there, they can tackle, they can find some confidence. Now, the next player, number 1, wide receiver, 6 feet, 205. He can really do it all. Vertical routes, I think that he runs good routes. He's a tough guy. Screens, they'll utilize number 3 on the screens. They'll utilize him to run. And again, I'm talking about number 3. I know that I kind of skipped past, but number 3, he'll run some routes that the linebackers have to cover. So there is a lot of stress on Tennessee's linebackers. And because he has the speed, it's definitely going to be a challenge for us. But, you know, with all their wide receivers, I'd say you'll see some screens. Really with all their players, tight ends too, you'll see some screens. I think they all run pretty good routes, but number 1, he is a dog. He's tough. He's physical. He blocks well. Number 17, he's a smaller player, 6'1", 183, but he can vertically, you know, he can take the top off, runs pretty good routes, has pretty good hands. I think tracks the football pretty well. Number 9, it's very similar to like number 1. Smaller player is what it looks like to me on film, but he's like a thick guy. So kind of like a running back playing a wide receiver is basically what both of those guys look like, but just tough, rugged players that will pretty much like do what they're coached to do. Now for their tight ends, number 84 and number 81. Both of them very similar. I think that number 84, to me, he's like a better pass catching option. I think that they're pretty good at run blocking and all that type of stuff, but, you know, just same stuff, you know, very, very well coached and all that. And I think that their wide receivers have just as many catches. It's like 12 and 13 for number 84 and for number 81. Just as many catches as their wide receivers. So all these guys here, pretty much like I think they're all somewhere between 13 and maybe like 11 catches. So they spread the football out to all these guys. All right, and then on defense, they have a safety, number 14, who 6 feet tall, 198 pounds. I think that he plays well. He's a big-time playmaker. I think he leads the team in interceptions. You know, he can do a good job in coverage, does a good job versus the run. And then they have number 35. And he's listed as an outside linebacker. He's an edge rusher. He's a smaller guy, 6'2", 235, but he is twitchy. I think that he could be a little bit of a problem for us. He is going to be a challenge for our tackles. So that's their guys, man. That's their dudes on offense and defense. Now, let's talk about their defense versus our offense, okay? As far as the talent breakdown, Tennessee has 20 blue chip caliber players, and Kentucky has 17. So a lot closer with the talent gap from our offense versus their defense. And their defense does some good things. I think that they'll, you know, it's going to be a challenge for our offense. It's not going to be as much of a walk in the park as some people might think. Now, everything in red here, that's their front 4. All right, everything in white, that's their like stand-up linebackers, okay? That's the second level, and then everything in blue, that's the third level. That's the secondary guys. So, you know, they don't have a lot of really big guys up front. What is it? Only like 2 guys, and that's just with their, you know, 2 deep. Only 2 guys that are over 300 pounds. I think that we can run it on them. Their linebackers, they've got 2 that are big. You know, they've got 2 that are smaller. So, again, I think that we can run it at them. And then with their secondaries, they do some good things in coverage where it can maybe throw off some of what Tennessee's doing. You know, that's something that I think Tennessee needs to do a much better job of opening up our passing game, like opening up the route combinations, because it has started to get stale. And the way that they play could definitely be a problem for our passing game. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. All right, so now this is the stats for our offense versus our defense. We're winning in every single one of these categories. I think that speaks for itself. We don't got to spend too much time on this. So let's move on. Okay, let me take myself out. And let's give y'all the overview of their defense. So the 3-3-5 and the 2-4-5, those are both nickel packages. All right. The first number tells you how many down linemen. The second number tells you how many linebackers. The third number tells you how many secondary players. So they're mostly going to be in a nickel. All right. This looks a lot better than what we saw last week versus Alabama, where they were very heavy in their base, which was also a 3-4. We saw how much success we had running the football on that 3-4. If we go to 12 personnel, that's what we're probably going to see from the Wildcats. But I think that we can run the football. We need to run the football right at these guys. Now, moving on over to the right, you can see their blitzing ratios. So the total blitzing ratio for their defense is at about 21%. Versus the run, very low, only 8%. And then versus the pass, that's pretty average there at about 33%. So they can bring it from different places because of the front. Whenever you have like a 3-man front or like a 2-man front, it typically means that you have a lot more speed out there, and the blitzes can come from several different places. They will bring cornerback blitzes. We haven't seen a whole lot of those this season, but I think that could hurt this offense as well. Now, with their coverages, okay, cover 3, they're running at about 30% of the time. Cover 3 means that you have 3 players playing deep. Pretty much the whole game last week, Alabama ran cover 3. If cover 3 can look different. I like the way that Alabama ran it. Kentucky might try to mimic it, but they do some crazy things within their coverages. All right, so quarters coverage, they're running at about 16%. That means that you have 4 players playing deep. Tennessee played a lot of quarters coverage versus Alabama last week because of their style of offense, right? It's a bunch of vertical passes. You want to try to take away what teams want to do and make them go where they don't want to go. That is how you coach defense. So these numbers come from Pro Football Focus. And this is why I take some of their stuff with a grain of salt, because whoever was going through breaking down their coverages, I don't know if they got lazy, if they got pissed off or whatever, but they're saying that 15% of their coverages are unknown. So what we actually just talked about here, just like with their coverage breakdown, is going to be skewed because I looked at all those coverages. Most of it's some type of a cover 1, so they can do some funky things within cover 1, but you should be able to tell that that's cover 1. All right, it's pretty simple. Most of it, I would say like the second most is going to be cover 3. Some of it's quarters coverage, some of it is cover 2. So this is, those numbers will be skewed. But I wanted to point that out there, that the way that they're, like the structure of their defense, with this about 15% of the time, it's tough to tell what it is. It's not that tough. But some people, if you're like a casual fan or something, you might not be able to tell what it is. But I think that we should have a good understanding of what is a much better understanding than Pro Football Focus did. All right, so there's a weakness in every single thing. There's weaknesses in what I saw out there. But it is a different look than what Tennessee's seen. We haven't seen looks like this over the course of this year, like not even once. So cover 1 is just man-to-man coverage. It means that you have 1 safety or 1 player playing deep. They do that at about 7.5% of the time. Now, their weaknesses are runs to the edge. All right, every single team has had success doing that to them. Whether it starts off to the middle and then bounces to the outside, they don't set good, strong edges. Tennessee looked really good last weekend running at the edge. The outside zone looks good for us. Obviously, with some of the gap scheme stuff, we can get to the outside pull leads, so on and so forth. So I feel very confident being able to run the football on them. And then they also struggle versus the options. They're just not. It's actually kind of similar to what we would think about with Tennessee's defense. It's stuff that we struggle with. If there's like misdirection and stuff, if there's a quarterback that can run and all that, that gives pretty much everybody some type of trouble. But I would say that the team that we're playing on Saturday, they are showing a higher level of trouble versus these types of things. And they're also within their zone defense, because I would say mostly they are running cover 3. If I had to break it down based off of everything that I've seen, probably mostly going to be cover 3 and then cover some sort of like man coverage, mostly cover 1. So mostly like a 1 high look where they're trying to stack the box with as many players as possible and try to stop the run. But, within any of their zones, if you flood the zones, then you'll find people open. They're not very good at getting to the holes within zones. So I think that Joey Aguilar can operate pretty well versus that, but it's more of the stuff that we would classify as like unknown, where they're doing some funky stuff that does concern me. He's going to have to be patient, and really the offensive coordinator, whoever's calling the plays, we need to have some stuff that's dialed up, that's more friendly for our quarterback. If not, this could be a game where we have more turnovers than what we want. All right, so just an overview of everything that we talked about today. On defense, I think that Tennessee is going to be fine. We need to try to stop those wide screens. We have to be able to play out in space some, take away the vertical passes, get pressure on the quarterback, stop the run, especially the outside runs. For Tennessee's offense, we have to be able to scheme things up well within our passing game, but we really need to be able to stick to the run. And I think that we can hit the edges on their defense and find a lot of success. And I think that we can move those guys up front. This is going to be a big game really for, I would say Tennessee's wide receivers, they should be able to get off, but this might be a game that we look at our tight ends and say, hey man, like we need for y'all to take that step forward, because it should be a mismatch with our tight ends versus their linebackers. And for the most part, they're gonna probably be staying in their nickel. So I think that we can win, whether it's versus their nickel player, whether it's versus safety, but especially versus their linebackers. We can find a way to occupy the more like secondary guys and free it up for our, tight ends. But I really want to see a lot more of Jack Van Dorsalier. I want to see more of Brain. I think it's time, because they're better pass catching options. Now, I'm not giving up on Miles Kisselman by any means. Of course, he's still going to get his burn, but this is the game for us to get the young guys going and figure out, hey, what's the best combination of players and, what best personnel packages, so on and so forth. So this should be one of those games for our Tennessee Volunteers. But tomorrow, we will still have our keys to victory and the game prediction and all that type of stuff. And then on Wednesday night, we will be going live for the midweek chat. Hope that y'all can join us for that. But as always, y'all, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Please leave your thoughts down in the comment section, and we'll be talking to y'all tomorrow. Thanks, peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.